Hi everyone, it's Wendy. Today I'll be reviewing the Van Gogh Watercolors by Royal Talens. I've been using these paints almost every day now for the last 3 months, so in this video I wanted to share with you all my honest opinion and thoughts about these paints overall, and then talk more about in detail each of the 27 colours that I own as I swatch them out. You'll get to know not only my personal favourites and recommendations, but also the colours you might want to give a pass on. So this is going to be a very comprehensive guide to help you decide which colours you might want to pick up. So according to the Royal Talens website, they classify these Van Gogh watercolours as somewhere between student grade and artist grade. However, based on my personal experiences, I would say that a lot of these colours are very comparable to artist grade, keeping in mind that I do paint a lot of pet portraits, so I gravitate towards a lot of the more natural colours, and I find these paints really great for producing a natural look to your work. But having said that, you're also able to achieve a lot of vibrancy and saturation in your paintings as well. For example, this lantern painting I've done here. Overall, I find them easy to use and reliable, and because they are more affordable, I don't feel too precious about having to use them up. So starting off with Titanium Buff, this is an opaque color and it's made up of two pigments, burnt umber and opaque white. So personally for me, I think you can give this one a skip if you already own those two pigments, and you can easily mix this color yourself. Next up is Azo Yellow Light. This is quite a neutral light yellow to me. I would say that if you're using this yellow for mixing, then just be aware that it's going to add a bit of translucency to the color that you're mixing, because this color has a opaque white pigment added to it and is therefore a semi-opaque color. Next up is Naples Yellow Red. This is one of my personal favorites out of all the colors I own from Van Gogh. I use this color extensively throughout a lot of my pet portrait paintings, especially when I'm painting like a Labrador or a Golden Retriever. This is just the perfect color to incorporate. I can also imagine this would be particularly useful for specific skin tones if you're painting people as well. So overall, very versatile color, and I recommend you adding it to your collection. Next is Azo Yellow Medium. This is just slightly warmer and slightly deeper than the Azo Yellow Light. I find that it is such a beautiful color on its own. However, because it's not a single pigment yellow, just be careful when you're using it for mixing with other primary colors, as the final mixes won't be as clean as a single pigment yellow. So the next color is Indian Yellow. It's a single pigment transparent color, and it's a much warmer and deeper yellow than the other two. I personally love this color. It's great for adding into warm, rich, deep sunsets, and it's also excellent for mixing into blues, as it creates very realistic warm greens, which is great for landscapes. So if you're a landscape artist, then I definitely recommend you consider Indian Yellow. Next up we have Pyro Orange. This is another single pigment transparent color. To me, it looks like a very clean kind of orange color. It's also very pigmented and juicy. So if you like working with these kinds of vibrant colors, then you might want to consider Pyro Orange. Next up is Permanent Red Light. This is a warm, juicy, transparent red. It has now been reformulated to be a single pigment color, which means it will be able to produce much cleaner mixes when blending with yellows and blues. On the swatch, it looks very similar to Pyro Orange, but in person, it looks more red. The next two colors I'm going to talk about together because they are quite similar. The first is Quinacridone Rose and the second is Rose. Both of these are single pigment colors and a cool toned rose color. Though comparing the two, you'll notice that Quinacridone Rose is slightly warmer than Rose. So these are not the types of colors where they are super vibrant on the first layer. You have to build up the color intensity through multiple layers. But this is something I really enjoy about these two colors. They're very soft and delicate in the first initial washes, and really great for realistic floral paintings where you want to have that control and be able to build up the color intensity by working in layers over time. Next up is Carmine. It's a single pigment transparent color, so unlike the Permanent Red Light, this is a much cooler toned red. In its mass tone, it's actually a very intense color, but here I'm using it with a fair bit of water to water it down to kind of like a pinkier red shade, which is very beautiful for roses. Now before we move on to the next color, I feel like I really haven't done enough justice to the oranges and reds that I just swatched. So here I'm including another heavier swatch, this time with less water, of the same colors. You'll be able to see exactly how strongly pigmented and vibrant these are in their mass tone. Next up is Quinacridone Purple Blue. It's a semi-transparent, and believe it or not, it's made up of a single pigment, which means that you won't be able to create this exact shade of purple with a combination of reds and blues. Next up is Lavender. This is a semi-opaque watercolor, and it's one of my most frequently used colors for light shadows, especially when it's on a lighter colored dog. So I prefer to stay away from grays for shadows. I prefer the shadows to have a hint of color to give more liveliness to the painting. Next up is Ultramarine Deep. This I don't think needs any introduction. It's a very standard one pigment transparent blue. This is a warm versatile blue that I think should be a staple in any palette. Next is Prussian Blue. This one resembles Phthalo Blue slightly to me, and it's a cooler tone blue compared to Ultramarine Deep. I use this to deepen up oceans, and I find it great for that because it's a much deeper, richer, and inkier blue. Next we have the color Indigo. This is made up of two pigments, phthalo blue and black. So if you have those two pigments already, then you will be able to create your own indigo shade. However, I do like having this just in a easy, already mixed format. The next one is Cerulean Blue, in brackets Phthalo. The reason why is because it's actually made up of phthalo blue and opaque white. So because of the staining properties of phthalo blue, you can see exactly how pigmented and intensely saturated this color is. It paints out so smoothly and evenly on the page, and I'm sure that a blue sky painter would really enjoy this. So the next color is turquoise green. This is not one of those super bright, clean turquoise colors, but it's a much milder and softer version of turquoise. So it reminds me a bit of shallower, clean waters on a cloudy day. So it's more like a realistic color that you can incorporate to give some tonal differences in your water. So next is Permanent Yellowish Green. It's a transparent color and it's very bright. It almost has a neon quality to it, which is not really translating through on the camera, but it's even brighter in person. So I would use it very sparingly for realistic nature paintings and keeping it just as highlights on greenery. Next is Sap Green. This is a transparent color, and if you're someone who doesn't like to mix their own greens, then this is a great convenience color that's natural enough straight out of the tube to be used on its own for painting realistic, fresh greenery. In general, I still personally prefer to mix my own greens, but this is a great alternative. Next color is Olive Green. This is a transparent color and is probably one of the only colors that I really haven't used much in my collection, so I can't really comment too much on this one, but it does paint out very smoothly. Next is Davy's Grey. This is a semi-opaque color, and I originally thought I wouldn't like this color, but I actually ended up really liking it for creating light shadows, similar to how I would use it for lavender. It has a subtle hint of green, which makes it a great alternative to just a plain grey. Next up is Burnt Sienna. This is a transparent color and has been reformulated to be a single pigment, which is excellent because I use this color a lot for mixing. I mix it with the ultramarine blue to create gorgeous dark shades, and also a lot with the Naples yellow red, just to create different variations in fur color for my animal portrait. The next one is Burnt Umber, also a single pigment transparent color. I use this one quite similarly to how I use Burnt Sienna, which is by mixing it with the other colors. It really helps to knock down the saturation and intensity of another color and makes it more readily usable in realistic landscapes. So the next four colors I'm going to be talking about together. These are the four shades available in the Dusk range. They are Dusk Yellow, Dusk Green, Dusk Pink, and Dusk Violet. So what these colors have in common is that they all contain the pigment Mars Black. Mars Black is a granulating pigment, so the color that's been added to the Mars Black will then granulate and separate out from the black once you've diluted it with water. If I had to choose one of the 4 dusk colors, I would hands down choose Dusk Violet. This is the color I've used most frequently out of the 4. I find it to be such an interesting color for creating depth in shadows, and I highly recommend this color. So if you've made it this far, then thank you so much for staying with me all the way to the end. I hope you'll consider giving it a like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. Even though it was just 10 minutes long, there was about 10 hours of work behind the scenes to make this, and I do want to make more videos like this in the future. So if you have any other brands that you would like me to review, then let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Bye!